Hello, all my little weirdos. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Freaky Fridays, where each episode I bring you along on a tale of a legendary ghostie. This week we are taking a stroll not through one cemetery, but two, and we will be talking about not one ghostie, but five spooky ghosties. Our adventure begins in Indiana, specifically a town called Brazil, Indiana, home of the Carpenter Cemetery, but also known as the Cloverland Cemetery, as well as the 100 Steps Cemetery. It is famously known for its 100 Steps gig, where one can discover their eternal fate or slide right past the Grim Reaper without a sound. Let's start with the obvious. This cemetery is supposedly the most haunted in the state and contains a concrete staircase with 100 steps. But that's not what's spooky about this folklore. It's the stories that go along with the concrete staircase. The first legend goes as follows. If you enter the cemetery at midnight on a clear and cloudless night, your goal as a spooky chaser is to climb the staircase while counting your steps. You should get 100 steps from bottom to top. So next you'll walk down the steps and do the same counting, but this time you'll get a different number. That's mind-boggling enough for me, but as legends grow, there was more that eventually came to that story. Story 2 says that you are to do the same 100 steps up the staircase, and when you get to the top, you are to look down the staircase, and at the bottom, you'll see the ghostly figure of a man. He's the first caretaker of the cemetery. He takes over your mind for a split second and inflicts a vision on how you will die. Just as fast as the vision comes, it's gone. When you gather yourself after the vision, you are to walk back down the steps and count. Once you reach the bottom, if you have the same number of steps that you counted going up, the vision is wrong. But on the flip side, if the number of steps going down does not match the steps going up, the vision is correct in how you are to leave this earth. But he's not a nice caretaker either, so don't even think about trying to jip the system by leaving the path or just not counting the steps on the way down. Those that have tried doing that immediately regretted it because there is said to be kind of like a devilish hand that pushes you so hard to the ground and leaves a red handprint on your back for several days. This cemetery has also fallen victim to the rascals that started the grave robbing movement in the 19th century. At that time, the demand for cadavers just couldn't be kept up with, so quote unquote professional grave robbers would dig up fresh bodies to sell for a substantial profit. According to a newspaper article in November of 1892, Miss Emma was one of the unfortunate dead bodies that got snatched. Emma West was the daughter of a pretty wealthy local farmer named George West, and she died of an illness. 2 years after her father put her in the ground, he ended up purchasing another plot and decided to move his daughter to a better location. But when her coffin was being exhumed, they discovered that her body was missing and her empty coffin was upside down. Miss Emma's ghostly figure has been reported wandering the Carpenter Cemetery, looking for her grave that she was snatched from, really just wanting to rest in peace. For our next adventure, we are heading to Baltimore, Maryland. More specifically, the cemetery at Westminster Presbyterian Church, home of the late Edgar Allan Poe. But of all the three ghosts we are talking about, Edgar isn't one of them. He's resting in peace, so we'll just leave him to it. Not only does this cemetery home the great Edgar, it is also the home of the Screaming Skull. The legend goes that in the 19th century, a minister was brutally murdered and decapitated near this cemetery. He was buried at the cemetery as well. The who and when of this story is unknown, unfortunately, but whoever the minister was that got murdered, he had a lot to say in the afterlife. A shrieking scream came from his gravesite, just screaming all hours of the day and night. And it was said to be a scream so terrible it would drive you insane. Like, check yourself into the asylum. Insane. But someone somewhere got tired of this skull's bullshit and allegedly dug the skeletal remains up, bound and gagged the skull, and then buried it back in a block of cement just to shut it up. Legend has it that you can still hear muffled screams when coming up to his grave. This next ghostie is a wild one. Between this ghost and the screaming skull, poor Edgar probably isn't getting any rest. This next one is a lovely lady named Leona Wellesley. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but she is AKA the crazy lunatic. When I read that her legend is known as the crazy lunatic, I immediately had to read more. Leona was an asylum patient that was buried alive. Not just buried alive, but buried in a straitjacket. No coffin, no vault, just her and her straitjacket thrown into the hole and covered up. I couldn't really find anything further on her, but I was really wanting to know what events led to those orderlies putting her in the ground like that. But old gal is still up to her shenanigans, even in the afterlife. It has been reported that you can still hear the echo of her mad and menacing cackle. Others have also said they feel the sense of being followed throughout the cemetery. Now, our final ghostie is a real get off my lawn type of guy. This supposed peach of a person is dubbed Old Valance. He is one of the previous groundskeepers and gravediggers at this cemetery. And although he has been long dead, he still takes his job very seriously. If you're caught disrespecting the well kept graves, he will chase you out of the cemetery with his shovel in his hand. He is also known to be a drunken ghost and will cuss you out and even attempt to bury you alive. So, those are the stories of our spooky cemeteries. If you have any other ghost stories you would like for me to do an episode on, drop a comment below. And until next time, bye.